Hey, gun people. I want to go over, they just released this footage of the shooting of LaVoy on, they're calling the Oregon protester, whatever they are. This is the complete uncut. They've got a shorter cut version. I want to talk about a few things as far as law enforcement wise on things that I see wrong. Maybe the defense attorney can use this. Why I think there's some issues with this shooting, and I'll go over those when it comes down to it. So what is shown here is that either a drone or a helicopter view has the car that they're going to stop in view. So by having this drone here, the prosecution cannot say we didn't know who was in the vehicle, we thought they were going to escape, so we had to use extraordinary or extra dangerous methods on these guys. So for people to chase, now they're pulling them over right now. You'll see the car stopping. You'll see a couple of marked units behind them with lights on. And again, the drone is watching this video now. So in law enforcement, for police to use deadly force needs to be authorized. And some of the justifications for deadly force is a fleeing violent felon. These guys are not violent. Now the government's going to say, well, they had guns, so that could be seen as violent. They didn't shoot anybody. They didn't commit any violent felonies. They weren't robbing. They weren't looting. They weren't kicking. Some dumbass on Facebook going to tell me this is compare this to Michael Brown, where he got shot, hands up, don't shoot. I'm like, this has nothing to do. Michael Brown attacked a cop, beat him, tried to take his gun, and committed strong arm robbery on a guy, went in and committed felony burglary and felony robbery, then went out and beat up a cop. And then he was shot because he was trying to take the cop's gun and beat the guys up. Somebody said this is the same thing, he's just white. This is not the same thing. These guys are known. They've been here for 20-something days. The FBI and police agencies knew who they were. They have them identified. If you read the affidavit, which I have in the description, I have in the other video, if you read the affidavit, they know who they are. They've been watching their videos. They know exactly what they look like. They have pictures of them. They have their driver's license information. They have these people identified. You can't use a fleeing felon if the person isn't a violent fleeing felon, and he will possibly, create a danger to others if he gets away. These guys weren't trying to get away. They're hanging out at the refuge. They were talking to the FBI. Now they're going to a town meeting. They're driving in a car. Now, did they commit a crime? Yeah. They took off from the cops here on a traffic stop. Now, if they were black, they could say we were scared of the cops and everybody would be like, oh, poor black man. But because they're white, they can't say they were scared of the cops. So, but they did take off. So when they took off, they committed a crime of failure to yield. It's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony, and it's not a violent felony. And again, the thing to remember, if I was arguing this case on why the cops didn't have any exigency to shoot this guy, you know who they were. You had their picture. You were following them. You were doing surveillance. You knew where they were to stop them. You had superior forces. Yeah, there's over 20, 30 cops here. They got 8, 10 vehicles with 4 or 5 cops in each vehicle. So, they had superior force. It was daylight. They had communication. The cops got to pick and choose when and how this was going to go down. They did not get caught in a back alley going to a loud music call and were ambushed and didn't know how many people were there and they had to fight their way out. That would be an exigency to where if they shot somebody that was unarmed, it would be more reasonable. And remember, all these actions of cops are judged on a reasonable standard. So the cops picked a place, they had superior force, it's daylight, there's 4 feet of snow around, it ain't like nobody's going to get out of the car and run. And you've already got the suspects ID'd, and they have not committed any violent acts upon people. They haven't assaulted anybody. They haven't raped, robbed. They haven't done anything. They've trespassed on a stinking refuge for freaking plants that the federal government has made into some special place. So there's no exigency to be shooting these people in the first place. But the government, now I'm going to switch hats here, the FBI and all these guys, when they're writing their reports, they're going to say, hey, these guys are militia. They've been talking that they were going to go down with a fight. They were talking about they were going to hold a refuge. We saw them with guns, and therefore we were afraid of them, and they were constitutionalists, and they've already outspoken about not liking the government. Since we were government, we were in fear of our life. Therefore, that's why we shot them, because they thought they were going to shoot us. So that's going to be the government side of this story. Where I don't think that story holds water, and it may be a little bit valid, I'm a little biased here, not biased toward the cops, biased toward the Americans. The guy that was shot was a dad. He was a good tax-paying American who flew the flag, who was doing good things for the country, who was trying to save the country, who had the right idea but maybe went about it the wrong way. But it wasn't like he was out there burning down buildings, looting, beating up cop cars. I mean, you had guys beating up cop cars and they weren't even arrested. I mean, they weren't even arrested. And these guys went out here, weren't hiding, were identifying themselves, were going into town to eat, were talking with the FBI on several occasions. The FBI could have took them into custody no less than 50 times before this incident. So the FBI is going to say, well, the reason why we did this is for tactics, and we wanted to make sure they were isolated, and we didn't have to take on everybody at the refuge, and this way we knew they couldn't escape. Well, right. They couldn't escape. You had a drone in the air. You had aerial surveillance. You had superior forces. You picked the time and place. And when they got in the car, they left their guns at the refuge. Nobody had guns in the car. So, I mean, they knew all this. They were under surveillance. So where was the exigency? In a minute, you're going to see them. They have the road blocked. And when I get to the roadblock, I'll be able to tell that. And I think this goes on for a while before. What happens is they hold this out here, and probably what's going on is the cops are saying, show us your hands, get out of the car, you're under arrest, we're stopping you for this, don't resist, don't make any movements, we need the driver to throw the keys out the window. They're just doing basic felony stop procedures here, and it doesn't appear that these guys are complying on the inside. But again, non-compliance is not a reason to shoot somebody. You know, again, if they were black, this would be on every newspaper about a poor black man got shot with his hands up. Because he's white and our country is so freaking upside down, nobody gives a shit, and they're like, oh, good, he's just some gun-toting Republican who's going to vote conservative. Screw him. He might take away my welfare or the other liberal, ignorant programs, so we don't care about him. Government needs to be held accountable no matter who they use force or oppress. They need to be held accountable. So, I mean, when you want to get into this black and white bullshit, and someone else brought in because he's white, he doesn't get special privileges, and if he was black, nobody would be saying that. That's just absolutely ridiculous. He was black, it'd be on the headline news of every news, and you'd have all these knucklehead left-wing freaking CNN, MSNBC, bullshit, ABC, talking about the poor black man and racial relations. Obama would be saying the cops are wrong, they shouldn't have done this, how could the cops be like that? You'd have all kind of shit. But because they're white, okay, here they go. So now they take off. So, okay, yes, they committed a crime. Yes, they ran from the cops. Yes, they failed to yield. Where the hell are they going to go? The cops can't say, we thought they were going to get away. We got a drone following them and videotaping them. We have their identity. We just pulled them over. The cops know that they have a roadblock up here coming up. Now I'm going to pause this when it gets to roadblock because this goes on for a while. And you're going to notice when they get this roadblock, the cops have blocked the roadway with several vehicles. Now look, this is pretty much standard for all law enforcement. When you put a car in front of a moving car, it's considered deadly force. Just like when you ram somebody. If a cop rams somebody, you've got to be able to justify immediate danger if the suspect gets away on how he's going to hurt and kill. And you usually have to say, we don't know who the suspect is. All right, so here it is. He hits the dirt here. So I'm going to go ahead. Now here's the unit behind him, and here's the dirt here. So I'm going to pause it here for a minute. See these cars on the road? That's considered an unlawful roadblock. You give a person no way to go. So the person had two choices. He could have went off the road, or he could have ran into your vehicles, and then you would have shot and killed him because you're going to say, officer safety, he tried to kill us. You can't, as an officer of the law, you can't create the exigency. These cops created the exigency when they blocked the stinking roadway with their vehicles and they gave the driver no escape path. That's why they have spike strips. That's why you blow the tires, so they can stop safely, so they don't kill themselves by running head on to a car on a wet, snowy road. Totally dangerous. You created a much more dangerous situation for the occupants of the vehicle and for the officers in those cars, whoever the dumbasses were that blocked the stinking roadway. I mean, as a defense attorney, I'd be saying, what the hell are you, what did you expect my clients to do? Okay, did you know who they were? Yeah, were they going to get away? What, you expected them to get out and run in 14 feet of snow? Where are they going to go? You got a drone in the air and you got 30, 40 cops. You've got superior numbers, at least 5 to 1, good guy to bad guy. Where is your fear and exigency that you think you need to ram your cars into it, block the roadway, force this guy into the snow, and then end up shooting a guy? All right, so here's a video where they shoot. You're going to see, I can't think of it. LaVoy, get out of the car here. He's the driver, and he gets out and comes this way. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on him. I don't know if the camera's going to zoom in and out, because then I'll lose it with my zoom. Okay, you see him here? Okay, I can't focus on him. His hand is up. If you watch the original video, his hand is up right now. So, you know, hands up, don't shoot. If you're a black guy, if you're a white guy, no problem. So his hands are up. Both hands are up right now. Again, if I could focus in and get this, both hands are extended straight out in a big T right now. So, again, we call this a clue in law enforcement. If a guy gets out of the car, oh shit, that wasn't even a guy, I was doing something else. Maybe that's why I couldn't focus. There's his hands. See those hands up? We call that a clue. His hands are empty. So we can assume that he doesn't have a rifle, because we don't see one, and he's got nothing in his hands because he's holding his hands up. And he's being somewhat submissive and compliant because he has his hands up. So, move the video a little bit further. He's walking, hands are still up. Notice the hands up here. Hands are still up. He's walking. Remember, cops have superior force, superior numbers, multiple cops, multiple officers. They pick the place. They block the road. They created the circumstance. Now, somebody's going to say, well, he created circumstance because he ran, or he created circumstance because they occupied a federal building. Look, you can go into all that, but cops create the crooks create the circumstance all the time when they rob or when they do things. And cops aren't told, well, as long as the person commits a crime, you can do whatever you want and just do whatever you got to shoot him and get him in custody or kill him. So that's not the rule any other time, but now people are arguing that's the rule now. Because they ran, everything is their fault. So his hands are up. Again, he's walking. This camera zooms in, so I got to zoom out. Again, multiple officers. Multiple. I'm talking like 15, 20, 30. There's some knucklehead over here in a tree line that ends up shooting him. And we call this a dumbass because he's shooting to the suspect who he's going to kill straight to where the other officers are. So most reasonable people who have any type of tactics or training will say that's a crossfire. You don't set up with a crossfire. You don't surround and circle the wagons and shoot a guy in the middle, because if you miss or the bullet goes through, you're going to be shooting at friendlies. So the cops right here are showing me their Mickey Mouse clueless lack of tactics already. I mean, besides blocking a roadway with a vehicle when deadly force is not authorized, and you do not use a vehicle to run a car off the road and block a roadway unless deadly force is authorized. And if deadly force is authorized, they should have just shot everybody in the car. They didn't have to wait. So why didn't they shoot? And that would be my argument. If deadly force was authorized and you parked your cars on the road, which is substantially saying deadly force is authorized, if somebody runs on a car, it's likely to kill them or cause serious injury or death. And if you're going to do that step, why didn't you just shoot them when they were pulling up to you? Why didn't you shoot them when they drove away? You didn't do it because deadly force wasn't authorized. Your car shouldn't have been in the road, and you created this exigency that got this guy killed. All right, so moving forward. Again, you see this guy break cover gun out, okay? And he's moving behind this uncleared vehicle. So they're going to say, we were so scared of these guys, we were so scared of these crazy Americans with flags, that haven't hurt anybody. Our fear was so high and justified as a law enforcement officer with a bulletproof vest and 40 other cops backing us up. And we were so scared that we ran behind a vehicle that was uncleared, that had 3 or 4 other occupants still in the vehicle, but we weren't concerned. So this cop is so scared he's got to shoot this guy, but he's not so scared that he pays attention to a car with 4 other people that he can't see their hands, he doesn't know if they have guns, and he doesn't know if they're going to shoot him. I mean, it's the inconsistencies of the cop's state of mind, and as a defense, that's what they're going to need to do is show, wait a minute, how can you say you were so scared that you shot this guy, yet you gave total disregard to the danger of that car? You walk from a position of cover to open, you walk behind the car that you haven't cleared, you're not watching the car, no one else is approaching the car, and you walk out here to shoot and kill a guy who's got his hands up. Now, there's another guy that comes out of the bushes here somewhere and shoots him in the back. And I don't know if this will be able to pick that up. And again, everybody's saying, well, we don't know what happened. We don't know what we're saying. Well, you're right. You probably don't know. I can tell you what this guy's saying. Show me your fucking hands. Get on the ground. Stop moving. Get on the ground. Show me your fucking hands. Because that's what cops do. Okay? I mean, we want the guy to stop. We want him control. We want him proned out. We want him on the ground. So, but the guy could have said, well, we don't know, and we'll probably never know. Do you have any guns? Are you armed? And the suspect could have been, hey, I don't have any guns. Look, I'll show you. And that's when he pulls his jacket up. If you look at the video, and hopefully they'll be able to enhance it, if you look at the video, he's reaching to pull his jacket up. Can somebody say, I thought he was reaching for a gun? Look, I can't take a suspect out at gunpoint and say, hey, do you have any guns in your waistband? And the guy says, no. And I say, reach down there and show me. And the guy reaches down to pull his shirt up, and I shoot him and say, I thought he was going for a gun. Because if we don't know the totality of the circumstances and what was said and what was being communicated and what was known by the officers, then how can we say it was justified or not justified? For the people hollering this is clearly justified, they're just as biased as the people hollering this is clearly unjustified. Now, I've laid out why I think it was unjustified. You had superior forces. The guy wasn't armed. He walked out with his hands. You had him in the open. You weren't too concerned about the other vehicle. You weren't too concerned about this vehicle. You had him on both sides. You had people on both sides. You had 40 other people back here in this area. Where the hell was your concern? If you were so scared, if you're so scared that you had to shoot this guy, why weren't you behind cover? Why didn't you stay in the car? I mean, this guy's walking in 3 feet of snow. Where do you expect him to go? He's going to freaking sprout wings and fly away? He's not going anywhere. A smart officer and these officers that stood back would have said, you know what? If he wants to run, let him get away from this vehicle that we think is a threat so we can clear this vehicle. Let's focus on the vehicle and make sure it's cleared before we run out in the open like a fucking idiot and expose ourselves and other officers to danger and create an exigency to where we have to shoot a guy because I want to be a hero. Okay, this cop had no business leaving a position of cover. Bad tactics, bad training, failure to train, failure to follow procedure. I mean, there's just all kind of things I could argue on this case. So, and again, I'll tell you right now, I'm biased for this guy. This guy was, I think, a good guy, and the cops were overreactive. They got their chance to use their new shiny guns and new vehicles. You got the mob mentality. You got a bunch of cops together. You get that shark feeder. It's us against them. Be careful. You know, in the briefings, I've been to 100 briefings. They're all the same. These guys are bad. They got guns. Don't play around. Stay on your game. Be careful. Officer safety. Go home tonight. Make sure you come home with the same holes that you come to work with. I mean, I've heard and been to all these briefings where they get everybody jacked up to where when you get out there, it's very easy to overreact for an inexperienced, untrained, or, you know, some officer who wants to get his first shot or kill and be a big guy in front of the other cops and get creds. So that's why I think it's BS. So, and again, when a guy was showing his jacket, why was he reaching down his jacket? Cops are going to say we thought he was reaching for a gun. But if they were saying, do you have guns, show his hands, are you armed? And he was showing them, no, I'm not armed. and his verbal and his nonverbal commands, if he was saying, I give up, I don't have any guns, I'm not armed, look, I'll show you. I mean, you can't just say, oh, you know what? All of his actions were inconsistent with his words, therefore we shot him because we thought he was going for a gun. And by the way, I know this is probably a moot point for a lot of people because they don't really care, who think the cops did such a great job here. The guy didn't have a gun. He didn't have a freaking cell phone. He didn't have anything to point at him for them to say, I thought he had a gun. All they've got is furtive movement that maybe he reached for his waistband or his jacket. But they have actions before that that are contradictory that he wanted to shoot it out. He got out of the vehicle with his hands up. Now again, he did run from the cops, try to get away, and they tried to kill him by putting cars in the road, and he had to get the snow, and maybe he bumped his head, and maybe he was bleeding, and maybe he had the breath knocked out of him. Maybe he wanted to get out of the car because somebody in the car had a gun, and he didn't want to be in a car when they started shooting. You don't know. You just can't shoot people when they get out of a car. It's freaking ridiculous. I mean, gosh, yeah, I can't believe the outrage that people have when a black guy gets killed for doing freaking violent felonies, and a white guy gets out, and he puts his hands up, don't do shit, and nobody's got a problem with it, and he ain't got a gun. And we've got video of him getting out of the car. It's not like we have video like with Michael Vick, where we had video of the guy punching a cop in the face, reaching for his gun, reaching in the car, beating the shit out of the cop, and then everybody was pissed off and said, hands up, don't shoot, after he beat the shit out of the cop and then charged the cop. We don't have any of that here. We got a guy getting out of the car with his freaking hands up, showing his jacket that he's not armed, and guys shoot him down like a freaking dog in the street. Ugh. Yeah, I'm biased. Okay? I think this is when he gets his first shot right here. And both hands go in to his belly or gut. Now, of course, if this guy shot what is called sympathetic fire because he heard the other guy shot, he may have heard the other guy shoot and said, holy shit, he must see a gun, I better shoot. So, and again, under use of force policy and federal law, you cannot shoot because another officer shoots. You have to justify your shooting and your deadly force actions on what you know, not what others know, what you know. So the idiots that park the cars in the street, all these guys, they should all be asked, what the hell were you parking a car in the street using what is considered deadly force when deadly force was not authorized? Is that question going to be asked? Hell no, it ain't going to be asked. So hopefully they'll get some use as force expert. I think he gets shot once here. And guy runs out. He turns around. I think he was just shot maybe in the back. He turns around. People are going to say, yeah, he reached for his gun or whatever. I don't know what he was reaching for. He didn't have a gun. Maybe he was reaching for his ID. Maybe he was reaching because his pants were falling down. Maybe he was reaching to act like he had a gun so they would shoot him. I don't know. But if he wanted to get shot, he wouldn't have ran out of the car with his hands up. It's just not reasonable. If he wanted to get shot and he wanted to go out in a flame of glory, he'd have got out with his wallet or his phone in his hand and ran right at the cops holding his phone like he was holding a gun in a two-handed stance, charging the cops. That's consistent behavior for somebody that wants to go out shooting and be killed or suicide by cop. Guys who want to be suicide by cop do not raise their hands and walk out and spin around to show that they're not armed. That's not consistent. So this cop over here immediately comes out, shoots him. I can't tell if that's his arm or if he's got a long gun. But, and again, I think they both shoot him. We're not going to know the autopsy. He falls. Again, this dumbass over here that's shooting here, if you draw a straight line from here to here, you have all these cops over here hiding now because they got dumbass cop over here shooting at them. You get freaking the asinine award there, dude. You're a freaking idiot. So he shoots straight across to these cops. If he missed, he probably shot a cop. And these cops will be saying, oh, the suspect shot at us. Look, there's bullet holes here. That's why he shot him. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to go on. Look, I've been in many IAs. I've been in many shooting investigations, homicide investigations. I know how this works. Look, the home team does the investigation. Cops don't want to make other cops look bad. Cops don't want to get the department sued. Cops don't want to accept liability. Cops don't want to get caught looking bad and lying. Agencies who are the bosses don't want to get caught because then they know they're going to get sued for failure to train or failure to supervise. So they don't want it coming out that these guys screwed up. So nobody really wants it coming out they screwed up unless it's a black man. Then everybody wants it. I'm just so tired of this black and white shit. I can't believe somebody brought this up because he's white. He deserved to get shot too. Unfreaking believable. All right. So that's my take on this. Hopefully you got something out of it and why I think this shooting has serious problems. Hopefully the defense can articulate that and get some experts in there to say, hey, cops shoot poor procedure, lack of training, crossfire, leaving a position of cover to the open. So how can he say he was in fear when he ran to that vehicle? And then after he runs by the vehicle, now all of a sudden, if you watch the video as it goes forward, it takes him 20 minutes to get the rest of the guys out of the car because, you know, they're so worried. Oh, these guys are dangerous. We got to take them out one by one. You know, felony car stop. Now, after you shoot a guy and all your focus is on one guy who got out with his arms up, now you're concerned about the other car. You weren't concerned about it when you ran out to shoot the guy in cold blood, but now all of a sudden you're concerned about it. All right, this is the uncut version. I'll put a link in the video, and I'll also put the affidavit on what all the feds knew before they did this. So all the information they had. And don't forget, they know the suspect's identity. That's key when you're chasing somebody. Most pursuits are terminated if we know the suspect's identity because chasing somebody is more dangerous to the public and them and less deadly force is authorized. Most pursuits are terminated if we know who the suspect is because we can apprehend them or arrest them later and there's not an exigency to get them in custody. And that's exactly what should have applied here, and it didn't. The cops were wrong. The cops were wrong on a lot of things, but I have a feeling everybody just want to focus on the guy that got out of the car and put his hands up because he's a crazy white Republican flag waving, you know, want the country back to the values what it used to be and follow the Constitution. Freaking country. All right, we'll end it there.